This is the Prophecy Project. Understanding the times, the nations in military conflicts, with Bible teacher and author Alan Bonk.
Welcome. This is session number 41 of the Prophecy Project. This lesson is the 7th in a series of teachings on understanding the world we live in. In my last session, I spoke about the revived Nephilim after the flood and how they are now in hiding after nearly being destroyed by the Israelites during Joshua's time. The revived Nephilim, which were once again genetic freaks, grotesque creatures, living in caves and roaming around and terrorizing everyone, this was happening around 1400 BC, or about 3,400 years ago. There is evidence that they will be on earth until the end of the age, the end times, the times we're living in right now. Now, I want to explore more about the genetic traits they probably have. Not just the ugly habits they have, like drinking blood, etc. We know that the mothers are human and would contribute human DNA, but the fathers are angels and would be causing the Nephilim to be large and also intelligent. But if we look at angels, there's a lot more than just big and smart. Here are some of the traits which the angels have. We are told in Hebrews 13:2 to be careful, because we could entertain angels unawares, that they can take on different forms when they wish to. Enoch 19:1 also tells us that they can change form. And Uriel said to me, "Here stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods." They can disguise themselves and shapeshift. They often appear to people in the Old Testament as men. This was seen in the account of Lot, where the angels come to Sodom and Gomorrah. They look like men. The ability of angels to walk among men without being detected was a part of their God-given nature. The fallen angels are using this tool as a way to deceive men. Now, the question is, why do they have to disguise their appearance? Let's look at the natural appearance of some angels in Revelation 4:6-8. And before the throne there was a sea of glass, like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne and around about the throne were 4 beasts, full of eyes before and behind. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf. And the third beast had a face as a man. And the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him. And they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, that was, and is to come. This is the eyewitness account of John as to what these beasts look like to see them. They have multiple faces, 3 sets of wings, full of eyes within the wings. And now, before you say, these are beasts, not angels, let's read from Isaiah chapter 6:1. And I, Isaiah, saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings, and with twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. Both John and Isaiah saw the same beasts in God's throne room, doing the same thing, except Isaiah called them seraphim, angels. The Hebrew word for seraphim means a fire serpent or a fiery serpent. And it comes from the root word or the root burning. Ezekiel also saw these angels coming down from heaven, carrying the throne of God down to the earth. This is seen in Ezekiel Chapter 1. For the sake of time, I'm going to describe what they saw, but not read the entire chapter. He saw 4 creatures coming out of a cloud of fire in the sky, and they had the general likeness of a man. And they had 4 faces, man, lion, ox, eagle. And they had 4 wings. They had straight feet like a calf, and they were burnished. The feet were burnished like brass and sparkled. They had arms and hands like a man's hands under their wings. So, you have seen any of these lately at the mall, around? No. Now you know why. They have to change their appearance. When they come around men, you would be terrified. Now, continuing with Ezekiel's angels, they are found to be moving with 4 ophons, one with each seraphim angel. They are working together in unity to carry and transport God's throne. The Ophanim are a class of angels. They appear as large orbs of fire with rings of fire inside. They have eyes within the rings. Ezekiel said they were very large and called them dreadful. They were directly behind the seraphim and moved in total unity with the seraphim wherever they moved, as moved by the Spirit. All 4 moving together. It says when they moved, they could move or run like a flash of lightning for speed. This account is of God's seraphim and Ophanim. But there's evidence that some seraphim and Ophanim are part of Satan's rebellion and are now fallen angels. The old chief Assyrian god, his name is Asher, is shown in carved reliefs as an angel, as you see in the picture behind me. But look close and you will see the Ophon, the big wheel of fire, directly behind him. This is the same configuration as seen in Ezekiel. And now, in the next slide behind me, we also see another Assyrian relief, which is showing the transfer of authority from one Assyrian king to another. The god Asher is above and in the center, and there are 2 seraphim consorts directly behind the 2 kings. They have 6 wings. Now, Yahweh's angels do not serve Asher or interfere with the affairs of men. This relief shows that Satan and his angels are directing the kings of Assyria, at least at that time. It also shows that the fallen Ophanim and seraphim are active in our world today. In the affairs of men. Now, note, in the next slide, that the same event with the same 2 kings is shown in another location in that palace. The same 2 seraphim are shown with eagles' faces instead of men's faces. They have transformed. Also notice how the eagles' heads have a comb over the top. This is emulated by the helmets of Roman officers. The Romans obviously had contact with the seraphim as well and wished to invoke them in battle. These seraphim genetic traits would be part of the Nephilim today. The Nephilim may well be able to cloak themselves or disappear, just like their fathers. They may have wings and be able to change their form, shapeshift, and move just like a flash of lightning. But Because of the unpredictability of genetics, the results would be diverse and could be all over the place. When you look at Egyptian mythology, you find accounts of all kinds of creatures. Horses with wings and with the bodies of men, and creatures of all kinds of strange abilities and traits. So bizarre as to defy belief. Nobody believes they're real, but they could be the results of genetic tampering gone bad. When you look at the many breeds of dogs which we have in our world today, all the dogs have the same DNA exactly. You couldn't tell them apart. But some dogs have no fur. Some dogs have massive amounts of fur. Some are so small they can hide in a woman's purse, and others weigh hundreds of pounds. Some dogs don't even look like dogs. Well, you get my point. It is the same for the Nephilim today. After 3,400 years of genetic experimentation, some may actually be able to pass as human, in a casual way at least, and be with us every day, false wheat, while others may be something more like a yeti. There are stories and traditions of giants all over the world, and they are found on remote islands and mountains, anywhere they could live without being bothered by man. I can't confirm or endorse any of these stories. I don't want to get into that. But I feel we can say that the Nephilim are here and in our world somewhere. After the flood, the spirits of the Nephilim, the demons, with the help of Satan's angels, set up many religions, polytheistic, multiple God systems. They presented the fallen angels and Nephilim as gods at the time of Abraham. Everyone was worshiping idols of these gods. Only, I repeat only, the Abrahamic covenant deviated from these religions. The world system, the cosmos, came from these religious groups. While they worshiped entities, angels and spirits, they also worshiped the creation of God's creation. They refused to see God as holy. Holy means separate. Kadosh. God is the creator of the universe. He is separate from it. He is holy. From very early after the flood, these angels and spirits would only reveal their doctrines and identities in secret, and to only those men who would swear never to talk about them to others, unless as guided by the angels. These religious orders became known as the mysteries. And all the Gentile nations or clans had their own initiate orders: Egyptian, Assyrian, Babylonian, Chaldean, Celtic, Scandinavian, and even the Americas. These orders allowed the demons to have their way with the people. They were religions of appeasement to the spirits. And also, they protected the Nephilim and the angels from any association with the masses of the people. All the while, the genetic misfits were sequestered away in their remote hideaways. They may have only interfaced with their followers during religious holidays and processions, but even then, they would still be disguised by masks and costumes. They used the devotion of the people of their religions to support themselves. In my book, America, the Daughter of Babylon, I quote an account of an initiate order where an initiate himself is being given an introduction to the God. It's too long to read in this session, but it does clearly show how angels are still deceiving people in the world today and promoting angel worship. If you want to read the account, you can just get it out of my book. Now, I want to talk about the Nephilim and their followers, how they managed to travel to remote areas around the world. As mentioned in previous chapters, the fallen angels have knowledge of how to do things, as in to build and design things. They had shown their sons how to work with metals and the use of antimony. Antimony is used in alloys and even today in semiconductors. All of this was before the flood. You can well imagine how much they have accomplished in the past 3,400 years after the flood. It would be technologies that they would not have shared with man unless they could be sure, the angels that is, that they controlled it. There are ancient Hindu texts and accounts which seem to indicate that there were flying machines made with the help of gods, and were used to move people around in the air and possibly beyond, even large numbers of peoples. The descriptions seem to indicate that they were self-propelled, but all of this is only as accurate as the interpretations of the texts themselves. And since I cannot vouch for any of that, I am simply speculating, but I can say that it is not beyond possibility because of what we know has happened and what we know the angels are capable of, that it may have happened. There's another possibility, though, on how they may have flown to remote locations. The Ophanim, chariots of fire, they're called, can carry very large weights. We saw that from Ezekiel Chapter 1, where 4 Ophanim are carrying God's throne through the sky. The Nephilim vehicle would not need its own power source. You could build a bus or something like a boat as a vessel, and the angels could transport it wherever they wished to. The Ophans are spiritual beings and could even cloak that vehicle if necessary. So we say, where are they today? I believe that the Nephilim are still, by and large, hiding in underground facilities, not big natural caves like they used to. They've most likely moved out of the cold. But they would be in something more akin to NORAD, the facility located in Colorado, a high-tech place with good lighting and all the amenities. They would not necessarily be remote from our cities, most likely under them. They would use a lot of electrical power, and an adjacent city would conceal their usage of the loads. It would also make it easier to travel without standing out. Air travel in and out of cities is mostly ignored by the general public. Now, these are just my thoughts on how I might do things if I were in their place. There are more and more sightings of unknown flying vehicles being seen all over the world. Some of them seem to be constructed crafts, and some are some sort of orb, look more like orbs, and appear to be very much like Ophanim. They have been seen to fly, hover, right into homes, move around, and then suddenly, like lightning, disappear. I think that as we move closer to the end of this age, there will be more and more of these things happening. I don't believe that interstellar aliens from some other planet are responsible. I do believe that spiritual, interdimensional angels are coming and going through space and our atmosphere, and that some varieties of Nephilim could be flying advanced craft around as well. They could be easily mistaken as extraterrestrial aliens, especially if you don't understand angels in the Nephilim. But many, if not most sightings, I believe, of aliens and the UFOs are not legitimate, just honest mistakes. I don't really give it that much consideration or thought. My focus is on helping you, people, understand and choose God. One of the big events of history was the advent of Christianity. Jesus gave his followers spiritual authority to bind demons. And he sent his disciples out to find people who needed to be delivered from the spiritual control. And they did. And were excited that they had authority over the demons. This dynamic changed the world and caused the Nephilim and the demons to pull back further into the darkness wherever Christianity became dominant. Christians escaped the control of demons when they were born of the Spirit. Remember, God is a spirit. And separated from the world through baptism. Anything that had the fingerprints of the old religions had to become occult or hidden. In the end times, right now, there will be a lot of movement by the peoples of nations back towards the old religions and the worshiping of demons and worshiping the earth. Bel is the name of the chief of these gods. He's also called by other names in different traditions. I mention this because in Jeremiah 51:44 says, I, God, will punish Bel in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he has swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. That which is known today as globalism will cease to exist when God punishes the world for their sins. Remember, he's going to come and remove all those things that offend him. Matthew chapter 24 says, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Watch, therefore. Dear friends, we're very close to the time when these things will take place. I want to thank you for watching this series of videos and understanding our world. I want to continue with this series if there's a response is good and the funding is there. You can send comments through YouTube. Please be civil. Thank you.
This was only one session of many. Be sure to continue watching the Prophecy Project series. If you would like to read more information on this subject, you can find Alan's books on Amazon.com.